what I have in front of me are all the things that I need to make my sofrito. We have a strainer full of freshly washed cilantro. This is actually 2 small bunches. Normally I just get 1 big bunch, but for some reason the bunches that I found were super small, so I have 2 small bunches here. I have 1 large green pepper. That is an entire head of garlic that I peeled. 1 large white onion. A little bit of, we're gonna use some olive oil, and then salt, which is completely unnecessary, but that's what I do. That's how I learned to do it. It's like a pinch, and it's like magic. I don't know. It has not. It's tradition, but you don't need to put salt if you don't want to. Okay, and then of course I have my blender from like 1962. If you have a food processor, use that. Doing it in the blender is a big pain in the butt, but I don't have one, so we will make do. Okay. You can also hear in the background some Hector Lavoe playing on my computer. If you want authentic sofrito, you need to have some salsa music playing. Okay. So what we have here is now a bowl full of roughly chopped garlic, onion, and green pepper, and cilantro, of course. I just keep the stems on. I used to try and get the stems off when I first started making this, and then one day I got really lazy and I just made it with the stems, and guess what? The sofrito tasted exactly the same. So yeah, I don't bother with that anymore. So I did de-seed the green pepper, and yeah, now it's ready. Okay, so I took a little bit of everything and I filled up the blender about 1/4 of the way, and this whole process is because I'm using a blender and it's super hard to do this in the blender. So I don't know if you have a food processor if it's going to be this difficult, but if you're doing it in a blender, you definitely don't want to put it all in there at one time, especially not an old blender like this one. So I'm taking the handy dandy little measuring thing on the top, and I'm gonna fill it up with about 1 ounce of water and put that in there, and the water is just to help start the process of the blending. And then, you do the obnoxious thing. Okay, so I've been pulsing and like shaking the crap out of the blender, and it's finally starting to catch and giving me a nice smooth base. So it looks like I can probably start adding the rest of the ingredients. When I add the rest of the ingredients, if it doesn't continue to catch, although it should, I'll just add a little bit more water. Now don't go crazy with the water because then you're gonna dilute your sofrito. Okay. All right, finally, after much shaking and blending, we have a good base of a mix, so I can add the rest of the ingredients without too much worry that it's not gonna blend for me. Usually at this point is where I add a splash of olive oil and a pinch of salt, just for, just because. I don't even know why. I just do it. So I got my little olive oil, and I'm like, we don't measure, right? We just splash. Woo! Splash! Okay. And then, and just like, you throw some salt, and throw some over your shoulder too, because I'm superstitious. Alright, so we're good. We're gonna cover it up, and we should now be able to like medium pulse and really get this done. As you can see, it's starting to look like a pesto. That's what we want. It smells really good too. You can smell all that garlic and cilantro. Delicious. Okay, so after I added the rest of the ingredients and the splash of olive oil and the pinch of salt, I went ahead and once all the ingredients were sort of incorporated into the mixture, I made sure it was covered nice and tight, and I let it blend for like maybe 60 seconds on medium. And then I checked it and it looked like this, and that's pretty much what we want. So now it's all blended in smooth, looks like a nasty Grinch smoothie. You can see how like it's a little watery. Yeah, that's fine. Some people make it thicker, some people make it thinner. Some people have more ingredients. This is a very pared down sofrito recipe. I know my grandmother had like 2 or 3 other ingredients that she used to add, but I didn't really like. There's an ingredient called culantro. I don't actually know what that means in English, so whatever it is, I don't like it. Or it's not culantro, I think it's called recao. And I never liked the taste as a kid, so I don't use it in my sofrito.
once you make this one, you can taste it and then you can experiment with other people's recipes. But yeah, we're pretty much done. The only other thing I have left to do now is get my old ice tray and fill it up with my sofrito, and then I freeze it. Okay, so that was almost like a perfect amount of sofrito that I made to fit in this ice tray. And I'm just taking some saran wrap and I am wrapping it around a few times. And then after that, I will just stick it in the freezer. It'll freeze in an hour or two, or leave it in there for whenever you remember. And once it's frozen, you have somebody who's really strong break it for you, and then you put them all in a big gallon baggie, and bam, you're good to go. Good luck.